Hi everybody, I'm Jasmine Liew, and I'm glad to see my HR fraternity being a former human resource leader, as well as R&D learning development. HR is no longer asking whether to be transformed. It's asking how fast, with whom, to what end, at what cost. I will share with you the latest HR Industry 2025 from People Matters on some insights from Southeast Asia into HR landscape. What are the key focus for HR teams? These are the top capabilities for HR teams to focus. And on my left are the strategic business relevance. And how can I co-journey with you? These are the areas that can co-journey with you in achieving your strategic business strategies. That includes influencing and advising senior leaders, employee experience, leading and facilitating change, building trust-based relationships, as well as change management beyond just digital transformation, as well as AI, augmentation, and implementation. How can we move from fear to fearless and navigate the changes through psychological safety? I'm also the first psychological safety practitioner as our certified under Prof. Amy Emerson, the Fearless Organization as a first global batch. I'm also an IHRP Institute of HR Professionals, Senior Professional. Let me share with you what's the role of psychological safety to facilitate effective change. What is psychological safety? I met Prof. Amy Emerson in 2019. Psychological safety is about a team belief, a team climate, where team members are comfortable to ask questions, to share their concerns, to ask for help. For instance, they're unfamiliar with an AI or digital tool or process, as well as they're overwhelmed. And they can share experimental and learnable mistakes made in the process of undergoing changes. To my HR colleagues, let's get real. During the early stages of change, there could be unknowns and our blind spots. There's also unintentional mistakes made and failures in the process of implementing the change. And how can we encourage our team members to feel safe and they will have a voice to speak out about concerns, and they can learn on how to improve from this experimental mistakes they made in the process of change, upskilling, including AI, automation, and augmentation. And how does psychological safety as a team climate foster? There are 4 key norms. I would say there's no fear of being ignored, humiliated, judged, or blamed. Therefore, team members feel psychologically safe to speak up openly about their needs, concerns, issues, asking for help, and learn together. Under what situations when we need to have psychological safety in the team? As human resource, we look into the organizational strategic plans. This includes how can we build high-performing teams towards innovation, overcoming challenges in the current and upcoming changes, enhance team learning and collaboration. This arises from changes such as job redesign, upskilling, reskill, and AI. We also need to redefine leadership capabilities in a more complex world. How do we harness the power of teams, knowledge, and sharing? And likewise, in Singapore, we are a multi-generational workforce. We have 4 generations under one roof: the Silver Gen, the Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. How can we enhance the diversity and belonging in the team? Likewise, we also look into our own organization employee engagement survey. We do this at least bi-yearly. And this was my former role in HR, where I don't just look at the survey. I think for us, it's not just about the results. Most important is what you do after getting the results. And that requires us to deep dive into the data and what kind of appropriate organization development solutions that we can recommend to the organization and the department. Most of my clients come to me because of the employee engagement survey results. And these are the issues they face with the employees. For instance, they feel psychologically unsafe to speak up about their opinions and their ideas. Likewise, they feel uncomfortable to raise concerns, to ask for help, and even take on experimental risks and mistakes in terms of innovation. Certain departments will notice that team performance and team dynamics could be lacking. This could be new teams or teams that's newly formed as well with a new leader. Against such situations where we need to have psychological safety, besides that, I'm also a senior professional in the IHRP HR professionals, and that's our Singapore national standards. So I'm very abreast with the national benchmark of HR standards and outcomes, and also understand your concerns and pressing issues. I also have 20 years of HR experience working in the public service, the private sector, and the MNCs from various industries. I used to be the head of organization, learning and development, and also the head of the corporate training academy in Panasonic and Certis. In my HR role, these are the core leadership expertise that I gained. I look into the organization culture, leading transformation initiatives, and this is how I can bring forward to help you to co-create this as well. I also drive change management as a change lead and implementer, and how changes can be done effectively with proven expertise and experience. And lastly is employee engagement to enhance workplace and workforce motivation. I am able to walk in your shoes because I used to look into training providers. Besides, internally, we develop our training programs and conduct themselves. We also look into external parties. Therefore, I can understand the situations, the challenge, and pain points. There's no upselling. Instead, based on our OD perspective and HR, we diagnose before we prescribe what would be the appropriate solutions. And there's no one size fits all. Every organization is different. So I focus a lot on customization and contextualization of the learning development needs and solutions to suit your organization culture. So let me co-journey with you. Furthermore, I'm also doing my doctorate in the University of Canberra, and my research interest is the role of psychological safety in the effective implementation of change initiatives. I'm also a academic, bridging practical industry experiences with evidence-based research insight. So what we learned and co-create together in this organization development solutions have back findings and outcomes. Over the last 9 years after I left the corporate learning development and HR role, I have equipped and empowered C-suite leaders, middle managers, and team members, and more than 8,000 of them have worked together from global organizations. We have learned and equipped them to navigate changes competently to build high-performing and innovative teams. These are more than 40 corporate organizations that I have co-created with them and co-journey to foster psychological safety in their organization culture and teams to be more high-performing and overcome challenges and changes. This comes from the healthcare, pharma, tech industries, engineering, manufacturing, banking, as well as the ministry, as also in education. Do you know how is your team performing? I'm going to share with you how to assess your team performance. In the fearless organization, we look into the horizontal line is about motivation and accountability. That means in terms of standards and outcomes, from low to high. And psychological safety as well as from low to high, what is the level? So we're going to look at it from a HR context. What are the 4 zones in your team? The appendix zone is a zone where there's low psychological safety and low accountability and performance. This is a zone where there's quiet quitting and people are disengaged. The other zone is known as the anxiety zone. This is a zone where we have high performance standards and outcomes. However, we have low psychological safety. This is a very stressful and unsustainable zone because people are working hard and overwhelmed, but they feel psychologically unsafe to ask for help, to share their concerns and needs, and even to talk about issues they face and learn about mistakes and outcomes while they are navigating changes. The next zone is known as the comfort zone, which many of us mistaken this as high-performing teams. This zone is where there's high psychological safety, but low accountability. That means people are very comfortable in the status quo. There's no compelling reasons for them to challenge, to change, and innovate. We should aspire and move towards the learning zone. This is a zone with a high-performing team, high psychological safety, and high performance. We can care personally and challenge directly. In this zone, team members thrive, and we collaborate and learn together from each other as we undertake challenges, changes, and innovation. Therefore, take a pause. Based on these 4 zones in your HR team, at the current state in 2025, which zone represents your team? And how shall we change the narrative for the HR team or any department from 2026 and beyond? From empathic zone to anxiety, to comfort, and to learning zone. How do we find out about our team's level of psychological safety? So from an abstract concept, we actually have some measurements. We'll look into the different pillars of psychological safety, and there's a scoring chart from strongly agree to strongly disagree. Besides looking at what went well, we also uncover what needs to improve. These are the 4 pillars of psychological safety. First is diversity and inclusion. When team members from diverse backgrounds, in terms of age and multi-generational, different departments and nationalities and functions coming together, it's about giving them a choice and a chance to feel safe, to speak up, and when they speak up, the people listen and value. So when they feel included, they'll be more willing to contribute to the team. Next, we have is open conversation, and that refers to the elephant in the room in terms of how are we tackling harder problems together openly and not avoiding them. The next pillar is attitude to risk, mistake, and failure. When teams are innovating, trying out to navigate changes, do we actually blame or fault find, or we do not hold mistakes each other so that this will not hinder our growth, improvement, and innovation? Lastly, willingness to help. Teams become safe when people feel safe to raise their hands that I'm not familiar with this digital tool or process. Can someone help me? It's not my strength yet, or I'm overwhelmed. And team members feel appreciated by their peers. It's not about what and why psychological safety. It's about the how. I co-journey with organizations to look at practical strategies and actionable tools based on the organization context and culture. And most importantly, is to institutionalize the 4 pillars of psychological safety in the DNA of the organization. One of my business cases has been featured globally in Prof. Amy Emerson's website, The Fearless Organization. In phase 1, we have a 2-day program on psych safety for a hybrid team. But it's not about a program, it's a follow-up action plan. So they implement the action plans, and 10 months later, we did a measurement. There is improvement in their median score for all the 3 pillars. There's one thing that we need to work on, which is attitude towards risk and failure. There was a drop to 20%. The reason is because the team is going through changes in terms of job redesign, a use of a new tool, and upskilling. Team members feel a bit psychologically unsafe to share their concerns, their worries and learning anxiety, and mistakes they made in the process of these new tools and new job redesign. Therefore, our action plans to come together with the team is to normalize the discussion of learnable mistakes for learning and improvement. We create norms and routines on how to respond when learnable mistakes were shared so that this is through support, understanding, rather than judgment. Let me co-create and walk through this journey with you and your organization, from fear to fearless. Let's navigate changes through psychological safety, and I look forward to get to connect with you. To find out more about this program, you can scan the QR code on the left, as well as you can drop me an email at jasmine@breakthroughcatalyst.org, or you can connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me co-create and navigate changes with you through psychological safety.